Picture this. You're sitting at your kitchen table, surrounded by tax forms that look like they were written in ancient hieroglyphs, and suddenly you realize something incredible. Every single number on those pages represents a negotiation that happened somewhere, somehow, between someone and the government. Today we're diving deep into the hidden world of tax negotiation, from the conversations happening right now in your local IRS office to the billion-dollar deals being hammered out in the halls of Congress. By the end of this video, you'll never look at your tax return the same way again. Most people think taxes are set in stone, carved into law by some mystical force beyond human influence. But here's the truth that'll blow your mind. Taxes are one of the most negotiated things in our entire society. Every deduction you claim, every credit you take, every rate you pay started as someone sitting across from someone else, arguing about fairness, economics, and what society should look like. Let's start where most of us encounter this reality first. That dreaded moment when you realize you owe more than you can pay. Sarah, a freelance graphic designer from Portland, found herself in exactly this situation 2 years ago. After a particularly good year, she owed $12,000 in taxes, but only had $3,000 in her bank account. Instead of panicking or ignoring the problem, Sarah did something most people never consider. She picked up the phone and called the IRS. Now, before you roll your eyes and assume this is going to be another horror story about government bureaucracy, let me surprise you. Within 20 minutes, Sarah was enrolled in an installment agreement, paying just $200 a month instead of the full amount up front. The IRS representative was professional, helpful, and actually thanked her for being proactive. This wasn't luck or some special connection. This was Sarah understanding that taxes, even at the individual level, are negotiable. But individual tax negotiation is just the tip of the iceberg. Walk into any corporate tax department, and you'll find teams of people whose entire job is negotiating with tax authorities. These aren't lawyers fighting in court. These are professionals having conversations, presenting arguments, and finding mutually acceptable solutions to complex tax questions. Take the case of Microsoft's transfer pricing negotiations in 2019. The company had to determine how much profit should be attributed to different countries where they operate. This wasn't about cheating or avoiding taxes. This was about fairly allocating income across jurisdictions with different tax systems. The negotiation involved economists, tax experts, and government officials from multiple countries, ultimately resulting in a settlement that satisfied everyone involved while ensuring Microsoft paid appropriate taxes in each location. Here's where it gets really fascinating. Every major tax policy you've ever heard of started as a negotiation between competing interests. The mortgage interest deduction that millions of homeowners rely on, that emerged from negotiations between real estate lobbies, housing advocates, and lawmakers trying to encourage homeownership. The research and development tax credit that drives innovation, that came from conversations between tech companies, research institutions, and Congress members who wanted to keep America competitive globally. But these negotiations aren't happening in smoke-filled rooms between shadowy figures. They're happening in public hearings, legislative sessions, and policy forums where regular citizens can participate. The problem is, most of us don't realize we're invited to the conversation. Consider what happened in Colorado in 2020. The state was considering changes to how they tax remote workers, especially relevant as the pandemic shifted work patterns. Instead of just implementing new rules, Colorado held public forums where citizens, businesses, and tax experts could present their perspectives. A small business owner named Mike attended one of these sessions and shared how the proposed changes would affect his company's ability to hire remote workers from other states. His testimony, along with others, led to modifications in the final legislation. This brings us to one of the most misunderstood aspects of tax negotiation. It's not about paying less taxes, it's about paying fair taxes. When Amazon negotiated tax incentives for their second headquarters, the conversation wasn't about Amazon avoiding taxes. It was about communities competing to offer packages that would bring jobs, investment, and long-term economic benefits that would generate more tax revenue than the incentives cost. The negotiation process revealed something important about how taxes work in practice. Cities like New York and Nashville presented detailed analyses showing how Amazon's presence would create thousands of jobs, increase property values, and generate sales tax revenue from increased economic activity. Amazon, in turn, had to demonstrate their commitment to the community and prove that the incentives would actually influence their location decision. Now, let's zoom out to the biggest tax negotiations of all: international tax policy. Countries negotiate tax treaties that determine how multinational businesses and individuals are taxed when operating across borders. These negotiations can take years and involve considerations of economic fairness, administrative practicality, and diplomatic relationships. The recent Global Minimum Tax Agreement, where over 130 countries agreed to ensure large multinational corporations pay at least a 15% tax rate, represents one of the most complex negotiations in modern history. It wasn't about any single country trying to gain advantage over others. It was about finding a balance that prevents harmful tax competition while respecting each nation's sovereignty over their tax system. But here's what makes this relevant to your kitchen table. These international negotiations affect your daily life in ways you might not realize. When countries negotiate to prevent double taxation, it makes it easier for American companies to compete globally, potentially preserving jobs at home. When they agree on standards for tax transparency, it helps ensure that everyone pays their fair share, reducing the burden on individual taxpayers. So how can understanding tax negotiation help you personally? First, recognize that many tax situations have more flexibility than you might assume. If you're facing financial hardship, payment plans, penalty abatements, and even offers in compromise are all negotiable options. If you're a business owner, understanding how tax policy is made can help you participate in the process and ensure your perspective is heard. Second, stay informed about tax policy discussions in your community and at the national level. These aren't abstract debates happening far away from your life. They're negotiations about the rules that will govern your financial future. When your representatives hold town halls or committee hearings on tax issues, your voice matters. Third, work with tax professionals who understand negotiation principles. A good tax advisor doesn't just fill out forms correctly. They understand how to present your situation in the best possible light, how to communicate with tax authorities effectively, and when negotiation might be appropriate. The art of tax negotiation ultimately reflects something profound about how democratic societies function. Taxes aren't imposed by decree. They emerge from ongoing conversations between citizens, businesses, and government about how to fund the services we need while maintaining economic growth and individual prosperity. Every time you vote, contact your representative, or participate in a public forum about tax policy, you're engaging in this negotiation process. Every time a business makes a case for a particular tax treatment, or a nonprofit advocates for tax-exempt status, they're participating in the same system. Understanding this transforms how you think about your role as a taxpayer. You're not just someone who fills out forms and sends checks. You're a participant in an ongoing negotiation about the kind of society we want to live in and how we want to fund it. The next time you're sitting at that kitchen table with your tax forms, Remember that you're looking at the results of thousands of negotiations, from the smallest individual cases to the largest international agreements. And remember that you have more power to influence those negotiations than you might think. Thanks for watching, and if this changed how you think about taxes, hit that subscribe button, because we're just getting started exploring the hidden negotiations that shape your financial world. Next week, we're diving into the secret psychology behind credit card rewards programs, and trust me, you'll never swipe the same way again.